Hello, welcome back. I'm Statman Dave, and today I'm going to be explaining what is an inverted fullback and how Pep Guardiola is copying Johan Cruyff to reshape modern football. Deployed in a back four, an inverted fullback is a fullback who defends in a traditional manner, but transitions to become a third centre-back in possession by inverting on the defensive line. On the ball, they look to progress the play with passes or carries, or simply retain possession with short and simple passes. Historically, this was a role popularised by Johan Cruyff in the 1990s. The manager of Barcelona at the time, Cruyff would set the Catalans up in a 4-3-3, which naturally overloaded the 4-4-2 in central areas, which was a really popular system. However, like with all successful teams, opposition managers would look to counter Cruyff and would often play a 4-4-2 diamond. This shape would in fact outnumber Cruyff's midfield, while also pinning his back four with two strikers, giving the opposition a tactical edge against a great team. This was a problem identified by Cruyff himself, who famously said, "If you have four men defending two strikers, you only have 6 against 8 in the middle of the field. There's no way you can win that battle. We had to put a defender further forward." This was the birth of the inverted fullback. Instead of allowing his fullbacks to advance, Cruyff instead had them tuck in to create a back three, whilst one centre-back advanced to create a midfield diamond, resembling a 3-diamond 3-possession shape. This new shape now matched opposition teams in midfield, while still outnumbering the two strikers and creating a safety player. With the tactical edge taken away plus attacking width, Cruyff's superior players were able to thrive whilst playing the Dutchman's famous total football style, with a focus on creating numerous options with the player in possession and using third-man runs to confuse the opposition. However, without the ball, Cruyff's men would drop into a classic 4-4-2 block and use man-to-man pressure to defend. The unsung heroes of Cruyff's Barcelona inverted fullbacks weren't the ones who won matches, but their tactical discipline allowed the others to shine. In Cruyff's dream team, his undisputed inverted fullback was Albert Ferrer, playing nearly 500 more minutes than any other Barcelona player that season. Cruyff depended on right-back Ferrer as well as left-back Goico to create a back three in possession and allow Pep Guardiola to advance at the side libero, with Ronald Koeman anchoring the team at centre-back. However, if the need arose, Ferrer would be deployed on the left as an inverted fullback. What's important to remember is that because Cruyff was so tactically astute, his shapes would alter from game to game, and there are occasions that we'd see Cruyff use a more traditional 4-3-3 as well as other possession structures. However, Cruyff wasn't perfect, and he'd get it wrong, like in the '94 Champions League final against Fabio Capello's AC Milan, where Cruyff used the 4-3-3 to cope with the threat of Savicevic and Massaro up front. In effect, this allowed Milan to more easily mark the Barcelona players, taking away the natural overloads the 3-diamond 3 would create in favour of an extra defender. This went horribly wrong for Barcelona, and thanks to an immense performance from the Italians, Milan won this game 4-0. Goico was also an inverted fullback, but so too was Sergi Barjuan when played deeper, with their roles very similar to Ferrer's. But for the purpose of this video, we're going to focus on the Catalan. In his own defensive third, Ferrer operated in the right channel, providing constant passing options for teammates. This is where the role is different from a traditional fullback. That would naturally be wider in the wing position, closer to the touchline than the edge of the box. With the ball in these areas, Ferrer would be very safe, largely look to play backward or square passes to Koeman or Guardiola. In the middle third, Ferrer would operate in the same kinds of positions and would still be responsible on the ball. However, if the opportunity presented itself, Ferrer would quickly progress the ball to the winger ahead of him with an outside diagonal pass. This is a natural advantage of Cruyff's diamonds, with the inverted fullback narrow and the winger wide, allowing them to receive on the half turn and attack straight away. Alternatively, Ferrer could play the inside diagonal to the right central midfielder, allowing Barcelona to switch through midfield. However, from this position, Ferrer could also draw pressure from the opposition by carrying the ball. Consequently, this would create space for more creative teammates that the Catalan could find with accurate passing, getting Barcelona in between the lines. Regardless, Ferrer would usually have at least 4 simple passing options in the middle third, and would usually go to Koeman or Guardiola to allow them to create. And finally, in the final third, Ferrer is very focused on finding his more attacking teammates. This again would see him look to the likes of Guardiola, who could play make from deep, the right central midfielder, who could open up the switch or play it into the striker, or the right winger, who could dribble in a 1v1. We saw exactly why Ferrer would find these excellent technicians in Barcelona's 5-0 win over Real Madrid in 1994. We pick up the possession with Ronald Koeman in possession, deep in his own half. He carries to halfway and passes it wide to Ferrer. Carrying forward, Ferrer again attracts pressure from the left winger, beating him with a dribble before attracting the DM and pulling him out of position. Knowing the space he created, Ferrer quickly finds Amor, who shifts it to Guardiola with 2 touches. With Guardiola now in the final third with space, he slips a perfect pass into Romario, who scoop turns past the centre-back and finishes past the goalkeeper with a little toe poke. So what does the role of an inverted fullback require? First off, as a defender first, an inverted fullback has to be quick and mobile with agility to defend the wide areas against opposition wingers. They also need to be aggressive with good timing, so when they make tackles, they can come away with the ball. But an inverted fullback also requires strong technical skills, like a good first touch as well as the composure to stay calm when under pressure. They also need to be good passers, but with a focus on precise passing with good speed rather than the vision and wide passing range you might expect from a midfielder. But most important of all is that inverted fullbacks require great discipline and tactical awareness. The role might not be seen overly important, but in great possession teams that deploy a deep line playmaker or libero in defensive midfield, inverted fullbacks are the team's Makelele role. They're attentive ball players who stop counter-attacks and transitions. So what systems and formations should you expect to find inverted fullbacks? Limited to a back 4 system, inverted fullbacks are only effective when they have wingers ahead of them. So 4-3-3s, 4-2-3-1s and 4-4-2s would make the most of inverted fullbacks. But perhaps even more importantly, inverted fullbacks only really work in a team that controls possession, in order to invert and get into the shape that features a back 3 and attacking width. The true strength of inverted fullbacks is that they unlock other players in the starting 11 and provide tactical variations for the manager. In short, they allow defenders to play in midfield or attack. The earlier example regarding Johan Cruyff's dream team featured 2 inverted fullbacks and a libero in Pep Guardiola, setting the precedent for successful possession-based teams featuring a libero thanks to Cruyff's inverted fullbacks. This system has been used twice to win the Champions League. Louis van Gaal's Ajax in 1995 used a back 4 of Reisinger, Danny Blind, Frank Rijkaard and Frank de Boer in defence, but in possession, Rijkaard would step out of defence and create a midfield diamond with Edgar Davids, Clarence Seedorf and Jari Litmanen, whilst the fullbacks inverted to create a back 3. The second was Pep Guardiola's treble winners in 2023 that used Nathan Ake and Akanji to form a back 3 with Ruben Diaz, allowing John Stones to move and create a midfield pivot with Rodri. So why have inverted fullbacks not taken over modern football? The role usually features in complicated possession systems, a lot of positional change and movement. Inverted fullbacks are also usually paired with an excellent technician in the rest of the back 4, either at centre-back or in the other fullback position, with the inverted fullback sitting to create a solid base whilst the player you're trying to free up advances. Meanwhile, the role itself requires high levels of ability and, most important of all, high levels of football IQ. The tactical discipline required is not found in most players, and the positioning in the game can be difficult to understand, let alone coach. There's a good reason why inverted fullbacks have only really been used at the top level of modern European football by Johan Cruyff and Pep Guardiola, with the former tactical genius pioneering the role and Guardiola, Cruyff's Barcelona libero, adapting the role for the demands of today's game. Like with all great coaches, Guardiola has disciples in the latest generation of coaches, and we're starting to see inverted fullbacks emerge in their teams. At Barcelona in the 22-23 season, Xavi had spells where he'd use his right back, either Ronald Araujo or Jules Koundé, as an inverted fullback who'd create a back 3 with the centre-backs, giving the left-back the freedom to hold the width on their flank. Whilst at Arsenal, Mikel Arteta has begun experimenting with an inverted fullback and an inverted wing-back. Prior to his injury, we saw Jurrien Timber deployed as an inverted fullback on the left, with Thomas Partey as an inverted wing-back on the right. Which brings us on to our next point. What is the difference between an inverted fullback and an inverted wing-back? In possession, an inverted fullback stays on the defensive line, almost becoming an extra centre-back, whilst an inverted wing-back operates on the midfield line in a support role or in the forward line in a more attacking role. Like with traditional fullbacks and wing-backs, the inverted versions of the roles have different levels of attacking responsibility. Meanwhile, without the ball, they are almost identical as they drop into the back line and defend 1v1 versus the opposition wingers. Although there may be some differences with the counter-pressing. Inverted wingbacks will often be in the position close to the ball, so they'll try to win the ball back immediately through pressing. Whereas inverted fullbacks are on the last line of the defence, so will operate more as a covered defender, dropping off to defend the route to goal to slow the attack down, allowing their teammates to get back into shape. So what's the differences between roles? As we mentioned, inverted fullbacks create a back three in possession and almost operate as a wide centre-back, occasionally venturing forward when the situation allows for it, but largely holding their position at the base of the shape. A modern day example of this would be Nathan Ake at Manchester City. An inverted wingback in a support role will move into the midfield line, either operating as a single pivot or more likely alongside a defensive midfielder to create a double pivot. Their primary role is to retain possession with accurate passing and progress the play from deep areas to the forwards with line-breaking passes. A modern-day example of this would be Zinchenko's role in Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. An inverted wingback in an attacking role will move into the attacking unit, usually operating from the inside channel as an extra playmaker or occasionally as an inverted winger. This role is the most unique because the attacking skill set of the wingback has to be better than the other attackers available to the manager, as they're largely replacing an attacker in the system. A modern day example of this role would be Joao Cancelo in Manchester City's 21-22 team, who would operate from the inside left channel as an advanced playmaker or on the left wing as an inverted winger. However, what complicates these roles even further is that they're often deployed in complex possession-based systems. We often see positional interchange. So whilst you'd largely see the roles playing in the areas we mentioned, they'll pop up in different areas to unsettle the opposition. Inverted fullbacks offer their team an opportunity to play a safe back three in possession, which comes with tactical benefits like more diagonal passing lanes and a natural overload against a 4-4-2 defensive structure. But as natural fullbacks, players in these roles are usually highly mobile and agile, which reduces the mismatch when defending against opposition forwards in the transition. We've seen Pep Guardiola use this to great effect on his way to winning the 22-23 Champions League. In the semi-final against Real Madrid, Guardiola used Kyle Walker as an inverted fullback to man-mark Real Madrid's danger man, Vinicius Jr. With the speed to match the Brazilian in the foot race, but the strength to overpower him, Walker dominated both legs, winning 89% of his 9 tackles against Vinicius, whilst Vinicius completed just 33% of his dribbles as Man City beat Real Madrid 5-1 on aggregate. So what does the future look like for inverted fullbacks? Like Johan Cruyff, Pep Guardiola is setting the trend in the current era. His combination of inverted fullbacks with a libero and John Stones grabbed the attention last season. But what Pep has created at Manchester City is a highly flexible backline that can create a 3-2 base in lots of different ways that Pep can use depending on the opposition. So effectively, Guardiola can play his own game while still stopping the opposition. We've already mentioned his use of Kyle Walker against dynamic left wingers, but we've also seen Manuel Akanji deployed on both flanks. Meanwhile, if Pep is facing a physically imposing team, he could use Stones as an inverted wingback on the right and get in an extra centre-back for added height. Whilst Kyle Walker has been Guardiola's most versatile inverted fullback, Josko Gvardiol has the skill set to be Guardiola's most complete inverted fullback. With more players like Gvardiol, we could see fullbacks in their historic positions at the base of the pyramid. We are starting to see this evolution with Guardiola combining inverted fullbacks, a classic wingback and a libero with a goalkeeper as a genuine outfielder, creating a 3-3-5 build-up shape, which completely outnumbers an opposition's pressing structure. Like with Johan Cruyff's dream team, the only real counter to this is a highly organised zonal approach, but with very tactical and technical players operating as inverted fullbacks, even this approach can be exploited by overloads. I can't wait to see Pep use 2 liberos with 2 inverted fullbacks and a halfback to completely break modern football. But anyway guys, what do you think? Will inverted fullbacks become more common, and will you be trying this role in Football Manager 2024? I've been Statman Dave, subscribe if you're new, we'll see you later. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, why not check out some more content on the Statman Dave YouTube channel?